What's up everyone, Darkblade here bringing you a video about the new Mass Effect 3 patch which was released October 4th for the PC, Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. BioWare have come out and simply dubbed this patch Mass Effect 3 Patch 4. The gameplay you see in the background is of me attempting bronze mode in order to complete my squad goal for Operation Overdrive. I was using the Human Vanguard as I feel this is still one of the fastest offensive classes in the game. Also, the Biotic Charge Nova combination works a treat on bronze mode. Anyway, I'm going to talk a bit about the various fixes they have made and my opinions on them. My opinion might not be great on all the fixes, especially if I haven't experienced the issue that needed to be fixed. So anyway, let's get into the start of the episode. The first fix they have made is they have fixed a tutorial tip that didn't properly display an unbound command. I personally never really experienced this, so I guess this fix is good for those of you who have actually experienced this. The second fix is they have fixed an issue in the multiplayer where if a character has a DLC equipped weapon and the DLC associated to that weapon is deleted, as in you delete say the Earth DLC, then the weapon loadout screen would display no weapon. This is now fixed. This isn't too big an issue because if you did want a weapon then you just go re-equip another weapon. But also, why would you want to delete some DLC unless you were clearing space on your PlayStation, Xbox or PC? The Sabotage Power Evolution 6, the one that increases tech damage, no longer stacks anymore. This fix was likely needed, as being able to stack any sort of power it does give unfair advantages. They have fixed a rare crash in the final mission level involving the firing of a cane at the Hades cannon. I haven't actually experienced this, but any bug that causes your game to crash or freeze or force you to restart your computer is sorely needed, and I am glad they have actually fixed this one. They've also fixed the encumbrance bar from not updating correctly for the Earth DLC weapon mods. This is nice because there's been so many glitches and bugs relating around the weight bar that as long as they start fixing them out, then I'll be happy. They've fixed weapons with natural piercing from having their damage reduced with piercing mods equipped. I am really glad they have actually fixed this because I often use the armor piercing modification on my weapons and sometimes I would forget to take it off on weapons that had natural armor piercing capabilities. The Incinerate Power Evolution 5 now gives a damage bonus to frozen and chilled enemies. The Krogan Vanguard Rage bonus now works properly. This was annoying because the Krogan Rage bonus was quite useful whilst playing the Krogan Battlemaster. In the single player, they've fixed Shepard's Shadow from not appearing after you enter and exit from an Atlas. This is really just a cosmetic fix and doesn't have that great impact on the game. They've fixed a quitting/disconnecting whilst holding a retrieve objective bug that could cause the retrieve objective to disappear. This is quite good, especially in the money rounds where you have to actually achieve these objectives and someone actually does disconnect and it just ruins the whole thing for everyone. So I'm glad they fixed this as well. BioWare have fixed it that users who get disconnected or log off during gameplay are unable to return to the online mode until they've actually rebooted the game. This shouldn't happen anymore and you should be able to just go back into the online mode without actually having to start the game all over again. Players can no longer grab pyros over cover. Now, I'm not 100% with this change because I thought anyone that is man-sized, you know, the same size as a man, should be able to be dragged over cover and killed. Although I guess you can't do that with phantoms. So I suppose that BioWare wanted a similar troop in the Geth army that you could do this with. And it happens to be the Pyros. They have fixed an issue in which enemies surviving a detonated stasis blast become invulnerable. This is quite good because this sometimes could bug out the game, which was really frustrating. They have added a new slot occupied message in the weapon mod systems when you try to equip a similar mod to your weapon. The third evolution of the Asari Justicar's passive power, the damage and force bonus, now works properly. The Disrupt Around consumable has had its multiplier effect against shields and barriers increased from 100% to 400%. This is a great change and them annoying phantoms and banshees will have their barriers brought down really quickly as long as you're using the Disrupt Around consumable. The particle rifle no longer replenishes ammo from ammo boxes and supply pylons. They fixed an issue where using a biotic charge before death caused the match to be unplayable afterwards. I got a video I got to put up about this bug, but I am actually glad they fixed it with this patch, and hopefully this should no longer affect anyone. They fixed the pathing bug for Banshees, so they no longer get stuck in their teleport routine. I know in some of the harder difficulties, especially Platinum, I've seen people exploit this so that the Banshees actually couldn't get over certain barriers, but they fixed this now, which will make some of the harder difficulties that much harder. They've fixed the Asari Justicar from not being able to activate her biotic sphere when you're in range of a large enemy like the Geth Primes. This is great because being able to activate that biotic sphere when in dangerous situations was really useful, and this prevented you from doing it, so I'm glad this bug is fixed. They fixed it that when during the retrieve object rounds, that when you dropped the object, it could potentially fall under the level. The Ops Survival Pack consumable now grants 1 second of damage immunity when consumed. This fix is quite welcome because sometimes when using the Ops Survival Packs, you would use them in emergency situations and there was still a chance for you to die, thus, wasting the pack. So I'm glad they fixed this. BioWare have now overhauled Singularity and redesigned it. Basically, Singularity no longer has a maximum number of charges and will only be destroyed when the time runs out. Performing a biotic combo on someone floating in the Singularity no longer actually ends the Singularity. The base cooldown of Singularity has now changed to 8 seconds. The base duration of the Singularity has also changed to 8 seconds. The base power now does 100 points of damage per second to all targets that are in range, even if they're not floating in the Singularity. This is great because it means it's going to be damaging shielded opponents, thus potentially draining their shields and thus making them float in the air. The base power now sets up biotic combos as well. This is on everyone who comes into range, but only one combo is added per enemy per cast of the Singularity. The third rank in the Singularity tree has changed now to a damage over time bonus rather than a radius and duration bonus, which is what it used to be. The first evolve option in the Singularity tree has changed to a Singularity duration bonus. It used to be a hold duration bonus and a number of charges increase. The fifth evolution of the Singularity tree has changed to a damage over time bonus, and that used to be a radius increase mechanic. And lastly, the sixth evolution in the Singularity tree now detonates biotic combos when the Singularity explodes. All in all, the changes to Singularity thanks to this patch are really welcome. It's made the move so much more viable, and I'm going to have to re-evaluate all the characters that have Singularity in their arsenal. I never used to like Singularity, but with these changes it might become a new favourite biotic move of mine. We'll see in a couple of days' time when I've actually played with it a little bit more. They finally fixed that annoying bug with the Banshees that were able to insta-kill you even though you were further away from them than you normally would have to be for an insta-kill to occur. They fixed an issue with Firebase Jade where it was given partial extractions even though all players were standing inside the extraction zone. At last they have finally fixed the ultralight materials weapon mod for the submachine guns. This has been broken for a long time, and at last the weight reduction for having the ultralight materials should be properly implemented into your gameplay. They've also fixed the armor piercing ammo not applying penetration bonus to secondary weapons. They've now fixed the player death camera that began before the sync kill was complete. The sync kills being insta-kills, really. They fixed an issue with talent points remaining after the character has been promoted. Now, I never had this happen to me, but I can see why they fixed this, because this is actually not how the promotion system was actually supposed to work. But it's a shame, because it would have been cool to have a level 1 with the talent points of a level 20. They have made it that melee creatures, for example husks, will now completely ignore pet type moves, for example the drones and decoys, rather than just having a chance to ignore them. This is going to make things a lot more difficult, especially if you're one of the teams who likes to rely on defensive positions, because certain melee enemies are quite tough to take down, and if they're ignoring your drones and especially decoys, then things could get tough. I'm not sure what the Phantoms and Banshees would be classed as, if they're pure melee or not, because they actually do have ranged attacks, but we'll see. The next issue they fixed is an issue with private lobbies not staying private after the match has begun. I've never really experienced this, but this could be problematic, especially if you do want a private match, or if you're attempting to play it solo. The next change is with the Chrysay sniper rifle. Chrysay. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it right. I've never really been able to pronounce that word. But anyway, it's the sniper rifle with explosive rounds with 3 shots in the chamber. But anyway, this sniper rifle no longer ignores enemy shield gates. Another fix is that they have fixed various weapon sound replications for clients. BioWare have made various changes to the concussive shot ability. Basically, the evolution damage of the concussive tree, damage and force, now applies to frozen and chilled targets. This is quite a good change. They've changed the 5th evolution of concussive shot. Basically, this is the 5th option in the concussive shot tree to do 50% more damage and increase the actual damage radius by 1 meter. It used to be that it would take on the properties of whatever ammo you were working at the time, but this did not work. Lastly, they've made a change to the 6th evolution in the concussive shot tree, that the bonus damage to organics has been increased from 100% to 200% over 10 seconds. Overall, the changes to concussive shot are quite good, but I am still not 100% convinced that I would choose concussive shot over some of the other powers that the concussive shot users have. Anyway, back to the fixes. They have fixed an issue when enemies in stasis surviving a biotic detonation, the biotic explosion, would become unsynchronized for clients. They fixed an issue with the Leviathan DLC. Basically, weapon mods were not carrying over into the Game Plus mode. They have fixed this now. They've changed the marksman ability as well. They've made it so it will instantly reload your weapon ammunition when activated. I think they did this because they wanted to put it on a similar level with Adrenaline Rush, which other soldier classes have. The N7 Shadow Sword Mastery Power Evolution 5 and 6 now applies to Shadow Strike damage. This means that Shadow Strike, if you have put points in Evolution 5 and 6 in the Sword Mastery tree, will be doing a lot of damage. They fixed an odd bug with the Atlas rockets applying a damage over time effect on the N7 Paladins when they were using their Omni Shields. I never really noticed this bug until I actually read it here, and then when I actually did try it a few days ago and that, it actually did turn out to be true, which was very annoying. But I'm glad they fixed this. On Firebase White, they fixed the issue where you would fall through the map, start at the beginning of the map again, but you would be instantly revived. They fixed this bug so it won't happen anymore. They fixed an odd issue with ammo boxes causing players to be unable to fire their weapons after attempting to refill grenades. I never really experienced this, but it seems quite annoying if you did experience it. They fixed an issue with the Crochet, again that sniper rifle, the explosive sniper rifle, not functioning properly on squad members. I must confess I never really equipped any of my squad members in the single player with this weapon, so I can't say if this bug was that bad or not. A great change they've added is that you can now headshot Banshees, Geth Primes and Brutes for an extra 40% weapon damage. This means that snipers and anyone who relies on a weapon is going to have a much easier time against these enemies. Also, they've made it that with the Atlases, if you shoot the exhaust ports on the back, you get an extra 40% damage. This is basically the headshot for the Atlases. These two changes are really good in my opinion, and they give people who like to rely on weapons a little bit of chance to do that little bit of extra damage on these type of enemies. They fixed the health bar position of Tactical Scan on Swarmers. I never actually used Tactical Scan on Swarmers because it seems a bit of a waste, but I guess this fix was needed. They fixed an issue with enemies approaching a downed player to execute them by showing mercy and leaving. I just thought these enemies were actually going off to fight your teammates rather than wasting time and actually executing you, but oh well, this is going to make things a little bit tougher. They fixed an issue with seeking projectile powers like Incinerate or Throw that failed to impact on their targets even though it appeared to do so. They've changed it that successfully extracting from a match gives 10% credit bonus. This reward does not depend on your squad members. You must personally make the extraction to get that extra money. This is a great change and it gives that little bit of incentive to actually make the extraction during the extraction round. They fixed an issue that caused the retrieve object wave to not recognise the recovery of an object when it actually entered the retrieval zone. They fixed an issue with a bleed out effect that was disappearing when another player in your team used an op survival pack consumable. They fixed an issue with the decoy in the single player that would sometimes block NPCs and squad mates when it was put in front of a ladder. BioWare have fixed it, well, shall I say changed it, that the Vorja Flamer power can no longer be activated at the same time as the Riga carbine. They fixed icons of power disappearing from the character screen. They've also fixed an issue in the single player where Ken and Gabby and Tally and Garrus's ambient dialogues were not triggering in the Normandy's engine room. They've renamed the N7 Destroyer's missile launcher to the Hawk missile launcher now. And lastly, they fixed an issue with purchasing multiplayer card packs would cause the game to freeze up and not complete. They fixed two major exploits to the game as well. They fixed the exploit that allowed players to become invincible and invisible to enemies. They've also fixed the rocket glitch, as people were calling it, where you were able to fire rockets from any other type of explosive weapons. These exploit fixes were sorely needed because people were being banned by BioWare for doing these exploits. So rather than ban people, why don't they simply fix it? Because in the long run, wouldn't it be less work than, individually banning people? But either way, it's fixed now, and I'm glad it is. BioWare have also put out a number of console and PC fixes. These mostly revolve around various crashes and game freezes. I'll put a link down in the description below so you can check them out. But that is pretty much the gist of what is included in patch 4 for Mass Effect 3. As you can see, it's a huge pack. I've probably rambled on for more than I like to, but I wanted to get all the details and information out there and tell you my thoughts and opinions on some of the fixes. Like I said at the start of this video, some of these bugs I didn't actually experience, so I can't comment too strongly on the fix. But for the most part, the gameplay changes that came with patch 4, I've enjoyed. Some of them I'm not too sure about. For example, no longer being able to grab pyros is a bit of a shame. But some of them, like the increased headshot damage on Banshees, Geth Primes, Brutes, and Atlases, if you count the exhaust pipe as a headshot, I think that's quite a good change and it's sorely needed. Also, I love what they've done with Singularity, and I hope that ability becomes a lot more viable in the game. I would really love to hear your opinion on patch 4, if you think it's good or not, so leave a comment down below. And until next time, I've been Darkblade, bringing you information about patch 4 for Mass Effect 3. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.